How's it going, everybody? It's Jumper here, and today we are going to continue my rankings of all the positions in basketball. And today we got the small forwards. So sit back and relax, and let's get it started. So this ranking is going to be done pretty much. I'm going to try to take everything into account: the way they played, their stats, the impact they had on basketball, just the career they had, if they were winners, losers, and my personal preference on how I like them. So enjoy, try not to get too mad. As I said, we're going to start off with Paul Pierce today. Paul Pierce is actually someone that is very close to my heart. He was the first NBA jersey I've ever actually had. I was a Boston Celtics fan back in the '08 championship run. I like Paul Pierce. I find he's not really given enough credit that he should. He's like amazing scorer. He's a little sus on defense, I guess, sometimes. I think he could be good, but I don't know if he tries too hard. Not too sure. I really like his ISO game. He's got some nice moves. He's got that sweet little jumper that he has. He won that championship back in '08. That's his only championship, and made a terrible move with Garnett to go to the Brooklyn Nets or New Jersey Nets. It was a terrible decision. It did not work the way they wanted to. And of course, Paul Pierce is famous for the faking an injury, but in reality, he crapped his pants. What else are you gonna do? He still came back and played pretty well from what I remember. Now, where would I rank Paul Pierce? That's the question. His stats were pretty good. Like, he's always, I think, a 20 plus points per game scorer in his prime. I'm honestly terrible with stats, so I should not talk about them. But I want to put him in B tier, but like it would be high B, low A. I feel like I'm only putting him in A tier just because I like Paul Pierce a lot. This is the damn truth. Put him in B. I might move him up to A, low A soon, but we'll see how everything goes because we have a lot of good players here. So next we have Rick Barry. Rick Barry the racist. Rick was known as one of the biggest douches in the whole league. He would just, I remember there was this one story, I'm not sure how true it was, but I think Rick Barry was getting mad at his teammates for some reason. I think it was they weren't passing him the ball enough, or he was just being pissy. So after halftime, he anytime he got the ball, he would like hot potato pass it back to somebody. Just wouldn't shoot, refused to shoot. Kind of a douchebag, but if we're looking at the grand scheme of his game, he was like amazing. He had like an all-around offensive game. I think he's pretty good on the boards as well. He had that crazy underhand free throw that just was super efficient, and his jump shot was amazing. Not sure if I said that already. And he also wore a wig at one point. That was interesting. But Rick Barry, I would like if you're telling me you had to pick between Rick Barry and Paul Pierce, I'm going Rick Barry just because man, that guy was a dog. He was crazy good. And honestly, I wish there was just more footage of him. There's not that much footage of him nowadays. So it's one of those mysterious players to me. Bernard King. Here's a player I don't know too much about. I know he had a very nice jump shot. I'm not sure if there was a story about him being a douchebag or like a bad father. God, I can't remember. One second. Okay, well, I'm back. It didn't take too long of a Google search to find out he is a piece of shit. Like I was saying, he choked his wife. He's like 4 counts of spousal abuse after that charge. Jesus Christ, what a dick. Um, he's still pretty good of a player. I don't think he ever amounted to a championship though. I think he was one of those I want to score and get my points type of players, and no one's gonna stop me. So I'm gonna put him at B. Yeah, I'm gonna put him at B. I remember there's like this cool ads that you would have dressed up as a king, of course, because that's his last name. Good marketing scheme. But other than that, I would put him with Paul Pierce, but I would take Paul Pierce over him any day of the week. Oh, Kawhi. See, this is biased. This is biased because I'm from Ontario, which is where Toronto is, and I was there for every second of that championship run in that Philly shot. Oh boy, every Canadian's wet dream. That was the best thing I've ever experienced. On top of that, Kawhi is just a cyborg on defense. Is that cool? Oh, I was trying to rub off the check on his uniform. Thought that was a speck on my computer. Okay, sorry. Even though my computer screen is pretty ratch right now. Whatever, back to the topic. Yeah, he's an amazing two-way player. Like his defense is just probably one of the best of all time. Got those giant ass hands. He's got that beautiful mid-range, kind of robotic on offense. He's been hitting threes more and more as he's gotten better. Um, he came into the league really, really raw, like just a defender, terrible offense. But he made his way through Pop system and learned and got better, winning himself a Finals MVP, which was amazing. I'm going to put him in S tier, but I have a feeling he won't be the top of S tier, of course. We already know who's the best small forward of all time. If anything, Kawhi is like low S, high A. I might change it around once I, talk about other players. Speaking of other players, someone I'm not the biggest fan of, Carmelo Anthony. An amazing scorer, one of the best one-on-one players I've ever seen, but he's not a winning basketball player. You cannot put this guy at the front of your team and expect a championship or even a deep run for a championship. He's a me first player. He wants his points, he wants the spotlight. I remember reading about some coaches saying he was just addicted to the spotlight. He would do anything to get there, he would throw whoever under the bus. And I'm not surprised. I like that he's taken a lesser role nowadays and is trying to contribute to winning. That's very good. But before that, on the Knicks, wasn't it? Nonetheless, though, he was still a great player. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't put him past Paul Pierce, but I wouldn't put him. I would not put him behind Bernard King. This is Alex English, one of the best scorers of all time. Very underrated. This man was kind of like Melo. I guess they're both from Denver and played in Denver, but Alex English was not worried a bit about defense. Just like Melo. Man just wanted to get his points, score. He had this weird little game of like it's like mid-range, I guess, but like it's even closer to the net. But it's like he would just keep taking these little jumpers that he had with a weird form, but he would just never miss. And if you never watch Alex English's like scoring mixtapes or anything, please go ahead. Like he's one of the most talented scorers in the league, very underrated. I'm pretty sure he took place in that game that was like the highest scoring NBA game. I'm pretty sure someone else on this list was actually in that game. Yeah, that game was 186 to 184. That is the highest scoring game. And yeah, the person that was also in that game is on this list as well. So we're going to get there eventually. But right now, Alex English, again, I would put him past Paul Pierce, even though Alex English has never won anything substantial. But just his scoring, like I think he is the best scorer out of everyone on this line here, and Rick Barry, actually, and Kawhi. But like the fact that he plays no defense really irks me. Now this is tough. Man, Alex English was just an insane scorer. He was so smooth with it. I will put him. Oh, this stuff, this stuff, this stuff, this stuff. Because on one hand, Paul Pierce has won a championship and was an amazing scorer himself. Actually brought teams to playoff runs. Not the best runs by himself, but Alex English himself though was just a scorer. I can't put him past Paul Pierce. I can't. For the life of me, I cannot. Next, we got a fan favorite, Chris Mullin. Everyone loves Chris Mullin. Was part of the Run TMC group of him, Tim Hardaway, and Mitch Richmond. It was a good squad right there. Classic. So Chris Mullin was obviously just a great shooter from the mid range and 3-point line. Didn't really make himself that much of a career run for a championship. I don't remember him getting really close to that. He was a great scorer. Pretty sure he was good on defense. Not like amazing, but got the job done. Was passable. I honestly don't know too much about him personally. Like I know his game. I don't think he's had any controversies. Seems like a pretty straight edge person. Would put him past Bernard King. I would rather have Melo than him though, but that's probably just because I was born in this day and age and saw Melo more. I should probably research him a bit more. Let me see if I can find any fun facts about Chris Mullin before we go. Well, I didn't find too many cool fun facts, but apparently he was pushed by Don Nelson, his coach, to figure out his alcohol problems. So, I guess he had some demons. I'm glad he probably got those under control. Well, that was a fun fact. Next is Paul George, playoff P, question P. Paul George is kind of similar to Kawhi in the sense of kind of came in the league with not too much offensive talent. Was a good defender, but built his way up there. Has a nice jump shot. Like mechanically, it's nice, and also at this point, it goes in pretty well. But oh my god, does he ever sell sometimes? Like that playoff P thing where he just did not perform in OKC was that was a yikers. But right now he's on the Clippers now. For some reason I was like, wait, is he on OKC still? No, he's on the Clippers with Kawhi. They're both injured. I'm wondering what they're gonna do next season. Um Paul George. Is there any fun facts about Paul George? He's got the most basic name on earth. That's probably all I could say. He's a good player though. Nah, to be honest, would not put him past Bernard King. Honestly, I'm gonna put him in C tier. He could go up once he redeems himself this year. Next, we got Grant Hill. All I remember from Grant Hill is when he was in his prime, he gave fits to Jordan and Pippen trying to guard him at their old age. So a lot of people were like, "This guy's gonna be the GOAT," which honestly, he could have potential for, but too many injuries slowed him down, but he was still a contributor as he got older. I think he worked on his 3-point shot, helped out some teams. Um, did a great Sprite commercial that I always remember him for. I really wish we could have saw what he could have done in the league, like his potential without those injuries, because he was very, very intriguing. He's a very tall, pretty much point guard. He could play point guard, good passing. He's great at driving the lane and dumping it off. He's bold. That's my fun fact. We'll put him. Man, it's hard because like I'm pretty much rating him on his peak. His peak, he'd be taken better than these guys, but I don't think I would put him past Alex English just because Alex English was just so much more consistent throughout his career, just scoring. These guys they're good, but I think I would obviously take Grant Hill over them. But if we're talking about injuries and just what his career actually was, probably down here. I'm just talking about at his peak. At his peak, I think he would even be better than Alex English, honestly. Yeah, I feel better putting him that way. Grant Hill didn't win any rings either, just like Bernard, Carmelo, and Mullen, but he was that man for that time, and I really, really wish that injury never got him. But what are we gonna do? We just gotta deal with what we've been given. Next, we got Adrian Dantley. That is another kind of similar to Bernard King player where he is just there to score his points. He's not gonna play winning basketball. I think Adrian Dantley got a ring with the Detroit Pistons before he got traded to Utah. Actually, no, he doesn't have a ring. And I'm pretty sure once the Pistons traded him, they started winning because Adrian Dantley was just not helping. He just wants his points. He's also kind of like Bernard King, had this weird kind of mid range jumper game of like fadeaways and post turnarounds. It was an interesting guy. But I like Adrian Dantley himself, but I honestly can't say he would be on the same level as Paul Pierce. At least Paul Pierce is a good defender, so I'd rather him to be honest. Next we got K Dizzle. the snake himself, Slim Reaper, one of the best scorers of all time. It's just unstoppable. That jump shot of his, it doesn't matter what you do on defense, he's making those. He's great. I'm pretty sure the Celtics played really good defense on him this playoffs. One thing I don't like about KD is just the fact that every time something goes wrong, he is gone to a new team. Like he's already trying to leave Brooklyn. Who knows if he will, but man just can only win a ring when he's on a stacked super team so far. So, but I would put KD in an S tier. Him and Kawhi are a little bit similar in ranking. Kawhi's obviously way too player. Durant's not bad on defense, especially when he's trying, but Kawhi doesn't even amount to what KD can do on the offensive end. Not many can. So I think that's good for now. Next, we have somebody I don't know anything about. Paul Arizer. This guy played so long ago, so I actually did some research and made a little fact sheet about him. So Paul is actually next to Jumping Joe Fulks, the actual pioneer of a jump shot. Him and Joe Fulks are one of the first people to actually jump and not have a set shot, which is more modern. People also noted that when Paul shot, there wasn't much of an arc to his shot, but he was way more skillful than Joe Fulks, if that means anything to you. On top of that, some people say he's the inventor of the fadeaway. Obviously, that's a loose title to give because we don't really know that. He also missed 2 years of military service. I think he went to Vietnam. He is a champion. He won the 1956 championship, which is... that's something. It's better than Bernard King. I'm pretty sure he retired early to go make more money working at IBM. So that just tells you what time period they were in. Well, let's just rank him as if we're just ranking him for his time. We're not ranking him compared to what he would do nowadays. He also led the league in scoring and efficiency. Never won an MVP, but he was an All-Star Game MVP. I don't think MVPs even existed back then, did they? I'm not sure. Can't put him in A. That's just disrespectful. Well, he is a champion. These guys can't say much of that. None of these guys can, except for Paul Pierce. Honestly, I'll put him right here. I think that makes me feel a little bit better. Paul Arizin is like, he's a legend, but there's maybe like 3 clips of him, so there's not much I could tell you other than those fun facts I had for you. Next, we have Giannis. Man, is this guy ever good? This man came in the league a skinny, small, raw prospect that pretty much had no skill other than just his body and athleticism. Bulked up, put on this crazy amount of muscle, lost his shooting touch, but slowly got it back. He's not a bad mid-range shooter now. Okay, 3-point shooter. It's definitely better than what it was, but when that guy is driving to the rim, there's no stopping him. His efficiency inside is like, it has like essences of Shaq. That's how good he is. So I honestly would put him low S tier because he has MVPs, he has a championship. If you're asking me, and also on the other end of the court, defense, he is amazing, like crazy good. There's a reason they call him the Greek Freak. The man is just insane. Also, just to add fun fact, Giannis is one of the most pure, innocent humans on earth. He is just such a genuine guy. I wish I could meet him. He's cool. Next, we have another person who I know absolutely nothing about, Billy Cunningham. I have my cheat sheet. 1 second. Let me give you some fun facts about Billy. All right, so some facts about Billy. He was a team first player, which is a lot more than some of these small forwards. He was a great 6th man. He's one of the few white people that could dunk really well and play above the rim. That's what I've read. Don't. And one also weird thing I read was apparently a lot of the black players back when he played said he's a brother and he can hang with them. So do what you want with that information. I guess that means he's a dog. He's good. Um, I would take Carmelo over him. Chris Mullin. Not Bernard King, though, because Bernard King just wants to shoot the ball. Doesn't want to help. Oh, also, Billy Cunningham was a good coach in Philly. So, good player and good coach for Philadelphia. The city of Philadelphia must love the guy. Moving on, Bobby Dandridge. I don't know much about Bobby Dandridge. I didn't do much research on him, but the only thing I do know is he's a dog in 2K. When you use that 70s, 71 team with Kareem and is Oscar on that team? Can't remember if Oscar's on that team. I think he is. But yeah, Bob Dandridge is good. He's a good defender. He's good with like scoring in the mid range, had a nice jump shot. He was kind of like a glue guy. You need those kind of guys on team. Kind of like a Draymond Green, but not that defensive, but like he would do what you need to get a win. Obviously a champion with Kareem. I would put him behind Carmelo. Carmelo still gets a lot of like respect from me just because of its offensive game, but in the terms of just being a winning basketball player, obviously Dandridge is way better than him. Now we got Peja Stojakovic. Some say Peja, some say Peja. Just one of those amazing shooter big men. I think he played this. Yeah, he played the small forward, but he was tall enough to play the four. But I don't think he was strong enough. Just an amazing deep shooter. So Peja was part of that 2011 Mavs championship run. Obviously, didn't wasn't a starter, but he contributed off the bench. That's good. He's a good player. I'd put him top C tier. Honestly, no, I'd put Paul Pierce above him. The only good thing, this tier maker, bro, triggering. No, no, that's no. Paul Pierce, Paul Pierce. I'm not even talking about Paul Pierce. Sorry, Paul George. Obviously, a much better player in the grand scheme of things to Peja. Peja also did win that ring, which helps, but he wasn't really contributing much. So I think that's a fair spot to put him. I would honestly rather have him than Adrian Dantley. I feel like wherever you put Adrian Dantley, they are not winning a championship because if he wants to be a main person, he's not winning anything. He's just too greedy. That's Glenn Rice. Obviously, we know Glenn Rice is an amazing shooter. I think he won a 3-point contest. Let me get a fun fact about Glenn Rice up in here. To the University of Michigan. Go blue. I'm Canadian. I know nothing about this stuff. Definitely would put him above Peja though. I wouldn't put him past Paul George though. Rather have Paul George. Iguodala. When Iguodala was on those like Nuggets teams, that guy was a dog. That man was so athletic. He was yamming on everyone. He had those handles for a small forward. And then he sacrificed all that to win some rings for Golden State and do what he needed to do. Hit his open jump shots. He's honestly clutch with some threes he's made. Iguodala is 100% a little bit higher on the B tier. I'll put him behind Carmelo. Carmelo is just legendary, but Iguodala is the definition of sacrifices to make the team better. That's a real man right there. Next, we got the Matrix himself, Shawn Marion, the titty shot man himself. Shawn Marion was a great player. He was good on those Phoenix Suns teams. He was one of the only defenders on that team that actually tried hard on defense. Man was crazy good on the defensive end. He did what you needed on offense, though. He could honestly hit those open jump shots with his titty shot. It was just really unorthodox. And he won that 2011 Mavs championship, too. Put him above Glenn Rice. Now, him or Paul George? I'd put him above Paul George. I'm getting this itch to move. Bernard King behind Paul George. I don't know why Bernard King was so up there, but I'm starting to realize he doesn't need to be. Next is Mark Aguirre. I know nothing about Mark Aguirre. We get some Mark Aguirre facts up in this dish. Well, Mark Aguirre is a two-time champion. Played for the Dallas Mavericks, and I'm pretty sure he went to Detroit and won with the Pistons. There's not much to say about him, honestly. The fun facts I found about him weren't really fun at all, but I know he was a good player. So we're going to put him above C, above Billy, above Chris. Now him and Dandridge. He won more rings than Dandridge, so I'll give him the heads up on that one. Next, we got Kiki Vanderway. Now, I have some interesting fun facts about Kiki himself. I did some research on Kiki. He was part of that game with Alex English, the high scoring game that I referenced earlier. I think one year he shot 48% from three. I'm sure it was on like 2-3 attempts a game, but that's pretty insane, like almost a 50% shooter. He played absolutely zero defense, like no defense whatsoever. Apparently, like didn't give a flying crap about defense. One of the best shooters of the 80s. So there's this weird thing I read about when he was a kid. He wanted to be in the Olympics and win. And when he won, he would wear a white glove and raise it in the air to spite all the colored people that were winning the Olympics at that time. That's some mental illness right there. And he was one of the first people to ever actually do step backs in games, like step back jumpers. So that's cool, other than him being a racist bigot. Kiki, the fact that you're racist really irks me, and you don't play any defense, that irks me even more. You'll be above Glenn Rice, not past the Matrix though. You didn't win a championship, and probably because you're toxic. I'm realizing now that there's not many people in the D tier, so I'm going to split up this C tier, and I'm going to keep it to the people that I believe now. I'm putting Adrian Dantley in front of Peja just because I find Dantley, like, even though I'm ripping on Dantley, I'm not being a winning basketball player. He was an amazing scorer, like talented. So we'll give him that. He did make a name for himself, although not the best name. And just a heads up, just C and D tier, I'm not saying these guys are bad. This is just in accordance to all the small forwards. We have the best ones. So obviously they're not going to be there's going to be some D tiers, but that's not a knock on them. These are all great players. I would take all of them to start a team. I'm not sure if I'd take Adrian Dantley or Bernard King just because they're egos, but who knows? Maybe I could pull a Phil Jackson and control it all. Next, we got Julius Erving, Dr. J, one of the most legendary players of the game. I always struggled trying to find out what Dr. J was good at, other than obviously dunking and being athletic and slashing. Found out he's a very, very good defender. And one thing I really like about him, there's limited games of watching Dr. J. I tried to watch as much as I can, but the NBA holds a lot of like old film hostage. They don't give it out. So there's scarce information on him from what I could watch, but from what I could see and what I also read, he is a dog on the offensive boards. Like, he is always grinding on the offensive boards. That's where he gets a lot of points on, which is respect, man. For a small forward, that's respect. I would put him above Rick Barry. He is a champion. Man, I honestly feel like Kawhi should be down here. I don't know. I'm thinking Kawhi versus Giannis. I'd rather have Giannis just for the fact that Giannis isn't that injury prone compared to Kawhi. That's the thing about Kawhi. He's just so injured all the time, so it's hard to say. Every time there's like like when you get to the point of Kawhi, it's like, yo, he could be the best player in the league. He's gone for a whole year, so it's like, whatever. Marquise Johnson. Again, not much known about him. I do know he was one of the first point forwards ever. That guy was like, he would run the offense. Like, you give him the ball, he'll run it. He'll make good passes. He'll make good slashes. He was great. Did he win a ring though? Let's get some fun facts about Marquise Johnson up in this. I couldn't find too much fun facts about him. He didn't win a championship, but he was in White Men Can't Jump. that does anything for you. We're gonna put him top D tier. I can't see him being past Sean Marion. So, and next we got Legoat, obviously the best small forward of all time, arguably the best player of all time. He is just something else, man. This guy is, even at his old age, he's still giving people fits. He's still going hard. I love LeBron. Great player. He's a good role model too. He's a good human. Obviously has his flaws like everyone, but man, is he ever like just he's GOAT material, man. And I've seen him ruin all my teams, all my favorite teams, destroy him, but you still love him just because he's so good. He does complain a lot, which is super annoying. He is kind of like a KD almost. He leaves teams a lot, but at least every team he's been to, he's won a ring. So it's more than KD can say. So obviously top of S tier. Next we have his buddy that's going right beside him, Larry the Bird Legend. This guy is one of my first ever favorite players. I remember just watching like his highlight reels when I was in like grade 8, grade 9, just because like I was so entranced by his passing. I don't know why. It was just his passing. I loved it so much. And I thought before I even became too into basketball, I thought he was just like known as one of the best passers ever. I didn't know that he was just such a deadly shooter, scorer. He's a good rebounder too for his size, but man, did he ever just ruin his body, just not taking care of it properly, always trying to do yard work. He rivaled Magic Johnson, won a good amount of championships, and was just one of those guys that was like just the best trash talker. This guy can just make you feel like garbage and destroy you too. He even had at one point the other team cheering for him when he was like hitting like these jumpers like from deep on 3-pointer, and then he fell into the trainer's lap of the opposing team. Oh my god. There's so many Larry Bird stories. If you haven't seen them, watch them. Do yourself a favor. They're so entertaining. And he also won the 3-point contest with his like warm up jacket on. Oh my god, that guy is crazy, man. He played a whole game shooting left handed. This guy is just insane. Next, we have Elgin Baylor, one of the first above the rim players. This guy was so athletic, and yet he had his time serving in the army. He literally only played like once, twice a week on his vacation, on like his off days. So he didn't even practice, but he was still dropping 30 bombs, like even higher than that. He scored 61 points. That's what I was trying to tell you in one of the playoff games. That's just insane. He was a great rebounder. I think he averaged like 15 rebounds once. Like that's just insanity. But sadly, he never won a ring. The right as he retired, then his team won a ring. It's hard, but might say something about him, right? I would take Dr. J over him. I wouldn't take Rick Barry over him. Sorry. Also, Paul Pierce is top of B tier. I don't think he can hang on this tier here. This tier is like legends. I'm even like contemplating if I put Giannis down here with Kawhi. I'm not too sure yet. But next we got Dominique Wilkins, the human highlight reel. This guy is kind of like similar to Dr. J. He wasn't the best mid range, but I think he was decent with it. He was a decent defender too. I'm honestly just never too sure, other than just his amazing dunks and like his highlights. He doesn't have a ring for sure. He stands out because of just like his amazing highlights. Like every game, he's giving you something to put on the top 10. But he never really amounted to winning much in his career. He played in a hard era. I'm not going to give him a hard time for that. But for that, I can only put him at the top of B tier. I would rather him than Paul Pierce. No offense, Paul Pierce, but there's a reason he's a legend, right? And I wish I knew more about him. I need to do more research about his game. Scotty. One of the biggest question marks in the NBA history. Like, he's amazing. Best, like, guy you could have for a championship with Jordan. He had that year or 2 years when he was by himself without Jordan. They didn't win a ring, but he still did pretty good. He is a little selfish, though, and he is a shitty person from what I've heard, all the stories. It's especially that time where he wouldn't sub into the last seconds of the game because they wouldn't give him the final shot. That's just lame. He was an amazing defender, though, like crazy good. One of the best to ever play the game. He was a good playmaker. Took him a while to get his offensive game, like his shooting, good. But the reason why he was such a good like point forward was growing up. He played small point guard. He was like a really small guy, so he had those handling skills and passing skills. He was great. I just wonder what would happen if he was with Jordan all of his years. Now on A tier. Man, but he has like so many rings too. That's one thing that's just crazy. He's three-peated with Jordan twice. Yeah, that's fair. Him and Kawhi actually get a lot of like comparisons together, which is it's pretty fair. They're both like amazing small forward defenders. Got a little bit of a robotic game, I guess, with their jump shots. But Pippen's just a way better passer, playmaker. Not sure who's better on defense, though. That is like a battle for the ages to see who's a better defender. Obviously, Kawhi has more defensive player of the years, but that doesn't just measure everything. And just, all the rings that Scotty has, it's hard not to put him above. Now we're getting near the end here. We have James Worthy, big game James, one of my favorite players. This guy is, again, just an amazing rim runner. Like, anytime he's running, he's playing with Magic, so anytime he cuts towards the rim, the ball finds him and he is good. He has big games in the playoffs, hence his nickname. He never shies away. He is a great all around player. Not a real jump shooter, but he could hit the mid range sometimes. But inside his post game and just his slashing was amazing. He's a champion. Think he won Finals MVP at one point or almost did. He's great. I would put him above B tier. Yeah, I'd put him top B. Oh no, I can't. I honestly would put him top bottom A tier. Rick Barry or James Worthy. What do you mean by that? I think that's fair. And I feel bad because James Worthy is just amazing, but there's just so many legends here. Can't blame him. Last but not least, Hondo. John Havlicek, one of the best players to ever play the game, most underrated. This guy is a legend, dude. This guy is so good. An amazing defender, an amazing scorer, passer, leader, everything you need. He won with Dave Cowens that championship. Man, he's good. I would put him. This is gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard because he had such longevity too. He played with the Bill Russell Celtics as a six man, then had his own team in the 70s. Man, was he good. Hmm. Now, where would I put him in the A tier? Above? Yeah, above James Worthy, above Rickleberry, above Elgin, above Dr. J. Now Kawhi and Scotty. Now this was hard. Now that's hard. I'd rather have Hondo, Kawhi, Pippen. I'm gonna put Hondo in between them. The only thing that's holding Kawhi back from Hondo is his injuries. If Kawhi didn't have as many injuries and missed so many years, he would be better than Hondo because I feel like he's better than Hondo at the game of basketball. But Hondo also had just great leadership and he played way more than him, man, he's a legend. But that Kawhi ring is not to be messed with. That was one of the hardest rings I've ever seen. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think, what you would change on this list. And other than that, it's been Jumper. See ya.